two big decisions to make for David Moyes today. Well, I think so anyway. You may think that there's more or less. I'm thinking, firstly, what's he going to do in midfield? Tomas Soucek. I think that Moyes' original plan was to drop Tomas Soucek for the bench for this game. The reason I think that was because he started against Lincoln. That was the original plan. Play him in the League Cup, but drop Soucek for the Premier League game. However, the fact that Soucek scored a goal and scored the winning goal is going to play heavily in David Moyes' mind. So maybe, just maybe, Moyes is going to be tempted to play the team that started against Liverpool. I hope he doesn't. I understand there's good reason for doing so, not just that Tomas Soucek scored the goal, the winning goal, but also the weakness that we keep hearing about, this supposed weakness of Sheffield United from set plays. That's got to be tempting for David Moyes. That's got to be really, really tempting for him to think, yeah, you know what, weak from set plays. James Ward-Prowse is a set-piece specialist. James Ward-Prowse producing the best corners of anyone else in the Premier League. Why would you not have somebody that can head the ball in there? So that's a decision for him. I would imagine he's probably looking at the game time played by Mohamed Kudus as well, because that seems to be the natural swap, doesn't it? Mohamed Kudus or Tomas Soucek. Maybe he'll do something differently. I'm not so sure. I don't really feel that anybody in that game against Lincoln City grabbed the opportunity to say to the manager, I want to be in the team. I said in yesterday's video, Danny Ings needed to score. Not necessarily for his West Ham career or not necessarily for David Moyes to trust him, but Danny Ings needed to score to get into the team. The two easiest games we have played so far and probably will play for quite some time is TSC in the Europa League and Lincoln City in the League Cup, Carabao Cup, EFL Cup, whatever you want to call it. Those are the two easiest games. If Danny Ings is going to feature in those games, which he did, he has to score to really force the issue and convince the manager that he's a viable option for Premier League games. Didn't happen. So, forget it on that one. But so I don't think he's going to play with Danny Ings. And I just find it very, very difficult to find players that really staked their claim. Did Fornals put his hand up and say, yes, I'm ready, and give a performance that was good enough to warrant his inclusion in the Premier League? Then no. So I do think it comes down to Kudus and Soucek. The other decision, I think, is Konstantinos Mavropanos. Him or Nayef Aguerd. I really do suspect he'll play Nayef Aguerd. Because you had to do one or two things. You had to either find out whether Mavropanos could play over on the left-hand side of central defence, or you probably had to test out Kurt Zouma in that position. Now, I know Kurt Zouma has played there before. We've all seen him play there before. So David Moyes has clearly seen him play there. But he's less effective at left centre-half. So if David Moyes does play Mavropanos in defence, he's got a decision to make. Does he play Mavropanos at right centre-back, or does he play Kurt Zouma at right centre-back? They both want to play there. That's their favoured position. I suspect he will play Nayef Aguerd. I do believe Mavropanos will be excellent from set pieces. I think he's going to score, as long as he has a decent West Ham career, I think he'll score plenty of headed goals. But Nayef Aguerd is no slouch in terms of heading the ball. He's very, very good in the air, Nayef Aguerd, and I would not put it past him to head the ball into the back of net. So I don't think it's an easy decision where David Moyes is thinking, I'm going to swap out this guy who's good at headers and good at heading in James Ward-Prowse cross against somebody who's not very good at it. I think they're both good. I think if David Moyes is going to make the decision, it's got to purely be a defensive one, which is got a player on our hands here in Nayef Aguerd, who is, well, having nervous performances at best. He's certainly giving up a chance every game, and I do make it different between Manchester City and Liverpool. I thought against Manchester City, Nayef Aguerd played well and he made a mistake. I think against Liverpool, he was pretty damn average and he made a mistake. And those are two very, very different things. So I do think that's a choice. That's what he's got to do. That's what David Moyes is going to decide. This is big for West Ham, though. It really is. If West Ham get into the position where they can move up into the Premier League and move up into the European spots in the Premier League, we might not have liked what we've seen, but it's going to look pretty good, isn't it? I think in terms of the league standings, we'll look at the league standings and think, well, okay, we're doing quite well in that. We've won our first game in the group stage in Europe, and of course, we've got through in the League Cup. That's going to be tough because obviously we've drawn Arsenal. But I think it makes it very, very difficult to be too critical of anything that's going on. But Moyes has got things to decide. He's going to have to make this Mavropanos decision at some point. It might not be Mavropanos. It might be Angelo Ogbonna. It could be Thilo Kehrer. But there's one thing we do know. There has to be some provision made for when Nayef Aguerd is not in the team, because Nayef Aguerd's going off to the African Cup of Nations. So even if he was brilliant, even if he was the best of the two centre-backs, the best defender West Ham had for the next 2-3 months, it still wouldn't matter. He would still be going to the African Cup of Nations, and David Moyes would still have a conundrum and would still have to make a decision and find out a player who's going to be well suited to play in the centre of defence. I'd imagine if you don't do it now. I talk about Lincoln City and I talk about what was they called? TSC Bakatopola? Maybe even Sheffield United. You don't find out in these games, then you're going to be dropping someone in the deep end in a pretty important game. So I don't know. What I do think is, though, that getting the 3 points early in Europe, if we can get another 6 points, which would be 3 plus 6 is 9, as I'm sure you're a clever lot. I'm sure that hasn't got past you. I don't think David Moyes is probably in a more advantageous position. He can start looking at those things, really. And we are good at that. We are good at qualifying from the European groups. It does give us a little bit of leeway, doesn't it? So whilst he might be flogging a few of the players now, he doesn't get himself into a situation end of November, start of December, where actually he's able to rest some players. So, yeah, really, really interesting. What I think for today, I'm sticking with a 3-0 win. I'm sticking with a 3-0 win against Sheffield United. I thought Gio's interview with the Sheffield United fan, I thought it was really good, funny guy, good self-deprecating humour, and that was just Gio. There you go, boom. Yeah, it was really, really good. But you very much got the impression from him. Not he'd given up, but he was resigned to his fate. As a Sheffield United fan, he was resigned to his fate. So we have to go and win these games. We really do. It was, you'll remember this, people of a certain vintage, it was often the West Ham way that we would go and give a bloody nose to some of these really big teams and then go and lose to the crap ones. I think it might have reversed. So maybe we just get beaten by the good teams and hopefully we get to the point where we beat the crap ones. And I don't mean that to be disrespectful to Sheffield United, but they're crap, aren't they? And we understand it. We're West Ham. We've been crap on many occasions, and I'm sure we'll be crap again. But at the moment, Sheffield United in Premier League terms, they're crap. Ain't their fault. And how can they compete with the money in the Premier League? We spent 100 million this season, 200 million last season. We should be able to swat them aside. So I'm sort of hoping that's what we do. Moyes has rested the players. A lot of players remained in London, didn't travel to the game against Lincoln City. Should have a fit Paquetá. We're going to see him, I think, purring. He's not a cat, but he's going to be purring. He's going to be at his best. And I think Ward-Prowse, Alvarez, those three in midfield, fully rested, are going to cause some problems. But the other thing I think we really need for this one is Antonio in beast mode. And if Antonio's in beast mode, then we may well have a situation whereby there will be some players within that Sheffield United squad who have played against Antonio before, but I do believe he's in a really good position to give the Sheffield United central defenders a really tough day at the office by bullying them. He needs to do it because, quite frankly, he was bullied against Liverpool. Anyway, there you go. We will be live over on the main channel an hour and 5 minutes before kick-off. Charlie's got a watch-along. We'll be back again afterwards. Gio has gone to the game today, so he will be up later on this channel reporting from outside the stadium. Maybe the pub, maybe inside the stadium. You never know. Hey? Who knows? Who knows? Who can predict? But from wherever he's reporting, let's hope he's discussing an emphatic West Ham win and we're having a look at the league table and seeing how high in that Premier League we actually are.